The Indiana Pacers do it again. They take down the Orlando Magic in their most convincing win of the season. That's 5 in a row for the fourth place in the Eastern Conference. Indiana Pacers. We'll talk about the win, TJ McConnell's huge night, and what it means for the team with Tyrese Haliburton, as well as why we're about to learn a lot about the Indiana Pacers. All coming today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and SI, and today, another win to talk about. It seems like every time I sit down in this chair to talk about the Indiana Pacers, they're winning another game. 5 in a row for the Pacers, still 8 of their last 10. The Celtics lose tonight, meaning the Pacers are one Kings loss away from the longest win streak in the NBA. And the Hawks lost to the Cavs on Monday. The Pacers are now 4th place in the Eastern Conference. If the playoffs started today, they would be hosting a playoff series. Pacers playing very well right now. They did that again tonight against the Orlando Magic. Their most convincing and complete win of the season, 123-102. We'll break down how that all went down, including a huge night from TJ McConnell, of all people, his best game of the season, one of his best games wearing a Pacers uniform, how that all happened, what it means for his connection with the team and Tyrese Haliburton. At the end, things are about to get real for the Pacers, and I'll explain why. But let's talk game. What happened? How did the Pacers do this? 123-102 win over the Magic just 2 days after, one game after. The Pacers struggled to beat the Magic. They couldn't get the lead till the third quarter. They gave it away a bunch. They needed heroic Aaron Nesmith rebounding to take down Orlando Saturday. They had no troubles on Monday. The first quarter, the Magic were in it. From then on, the Pacers won with a new way. They keep doing the defense the whole way this time, not like Houston where it ratcheted up in the second half. The defense was great all game for the Pacers this time, only giving up 102. Dominance from the Pacers. I consider this to be their most dominant win of the season, 21 points over Orlando at home. Sure, Orlando's not the best team, but all their other double-digit wins, right? Toronto, they got their double-digit win in the fourth quarter, right? A lot of their other games, that was the case. Charlotte, they were right with them till the end of the game. This seems like the game where the Pacers dominated. They put their stamp on it the whole time. They were up 10 at the half. They were up 20 after 3. They didn't have a Denver situation where they gave it away and blew the lead. Tyrese Haliburton said they're still learning how to play from ahead. This game, they certainly looked like they knew how. They crushed the Magic from start to finish. A new Pacers way to win, something they keep showing over and over and over again. Now, what's funny is I bet they won a lot back from this game if you look back and look at what the Pacers did. A 21-point win, and yet 13 of 46 on threes on a lot of open looks. Buddy Hield was 1 for 10 from deep. Haliburton himself 1 for 5. Jalen Smith and Miles Turner combined 0 for 7. They had 21 turnovers. That's basically the entire reason this game wasn't a blowout from start to finish, is because the Pacers did not necessarily do a fantastic job taking care of the ball early. They had 23 fouls. Like a lot, the Pacers would run back in a dominant win. That's how much they're evolving and improving. They, the turnovers were certainly brutal, something they had a problem with Saturday night. But the Pacers defended capably, and they attacked the rim. I think this was their biggest adjustment from Saturday's game against the Magic, where they played well offensively. They scored 114. In this game, they attacked the rim much more, getting into the paint to create passing lanes, to create shots at the basket, to create general two-point threats. 30 made two-point shots for the Pacers in this game. The Magic, who have no shooters and have a bunch of huge guys, only made 25, right? Very impressive from the Pacers. They really wanted to attack 58 points in the paint against the Magic, who, again, are much bigger than them. They won the points in the paint battle by 16 points in this game. And Haliburton talked about it after the game. He said, we knew from the last game, they're going to switch on defense, which means when I come around screens, we can have a minute where I can get to the paint and drive and make things happen. And it worked. It worked very well. And they put pressure on the rim all night. Benedict Mathurin did a great job at that. TJ McConnell did a great job at that. We'll talk about all these guys in more depth as we go along. But just explaining the game flow, that was a big part of things, is that the Pacers adjusted and figured out how they could attack the Magic better, and they certainly did. So what they did do well, beyond their own adjustments, is share the ball well in attack, right? That's why they got so many points in the paint. That's why they made so many two-pointers. 32 assists for the Pacers on 43 makes, right? They had 12 more assists than Orlando. did in this game. Orlando only 20 assists. That is something the Pacers have been doing well this year and something they did extremely well in this game. Tyrese Haliburton, 14 assists, 9 of them in the first half. I think he could have approached 20 assists in this game, but he didn't play in the fourth quarter. He didn't need to. They were up by so much. He only played 27 minutes in this game, which was still the third most of any Pacer, but that speaks to how much the Pacers dominated. The Pacers, if they finish a game and their two leading minutes guys, the only two guys who played over 30 minutes are Aaron Nesmith and TJ McConnell, the game either went very well or very poorly. And in this case, the answer was very well. Haliburton's 14 assists would have been more. And he joked after the game, he even said it would have been way higher if Buddy Hield hit his shots. Buddy Hield 1 for 10 from deep, 3 for 13 in this game. McConnell had the 10 assists, and TJ McConnell will be a lot of focus here in the second segment today. Best game of his season by a mile, and maybe the best game of his Pacers tenure, or one of. He had that 23-point game when Brogdon and LeVert and someone else was out to close out the Nate Bjorkgren season. I think it was their second to last game. He had 23 points and played like the entire game. I think Cassius Stanley was their backup point guard in that game, if you remember that night. But McConnell today, 7 for 8 from the field. His only miss was a 3, and he was deserving of taking more threes. 3 of 4 from deep, tying his career high in made threes. He had a shot fake from deep that took a defender up in the air. He dribbles once into the paint and gets an easy bucket for, I believe, Jalen Smith with the shot fake. That's how much the shot was working. Guys were biting on the fakes. 5 rebounds for TJ McConnell. 3 steals, plus 22 a game high. He was awesome in a way. He has not been this season. He has definitely had some good games, but he was extra special in this game. The point guards in general were fantastic. Ball handling is so important to the success of a team. And yeah, there were some turnovers. Tyrese Haliburton had 7 of them, most of them coming in the first half. The combined 10 for McConnell Haliburton. That separates this game from a 20-point win to a 30-point win. But they were so good. 24 assists combined, 37 points combined. They both shot over 50%, being 2 of only 3 guys in the entire team, the other being O'Shea Brissett, to do so in a 20-point win. They don't have a lot of stats that suggest this was a 20-point win, but they moved the ball well and dominated inside the arc in a way that they typically don't. And they made a lot of very timely plays to make the Magic, subdued and withdrawn from their typical game plan. Fantastic game from the point guards. Best starter besides Haliburton was Aaron Nesmith at 3 for 7 in terms of shooting. The other 3 were at 37% or lower in terms of shooting percentage, which I say is a segue to say the bench was very good in this game. Isaiah Jackson didn't miss a shot. He finished with 10 points and 8 rebounds. Benedict Mathurin was the leading scorer with the quietest 22 points, I would say, in NBA history. Had no idea he had that many points. A lot of it came from the free throw line, which is generally a factor, and that's how he does it. That's what's made him such an effective scoring rookie. Doesn't take a lot for him to do it. Yeah, he took 13 shots, which in terms of field goal attempts is tied for the most on the team, but he got to the line for 10 free throws in this game. No other Pacer took more than 5. Very quiet 22 and 5 for Mathurin, but he was great. They kept him in quite a bit. And O'Shea Brissett, like I said earlier, 18 points. He's finally reemerged from his early season slump, 4 for 7 from deep, including a parking lot jumper. The bench was fantastic in a way that it wasn't literally 2 nights ago. The Pacers just keep finding ways. The bench stepping up. Defense all the way, a dominant game from second quarter, start to finish. This is just not a game we've seen from the Pacers so far. And so I keep saying we see something new, but I don't think we're actually seeing something new. I'm altering the thesis to say that's who they are. They're a team that can win differently every time, and that's not new. That has been a theme for the Pacers throughout the season. They changed up their coverages slightly. They slowed down the Magic, and it was an easy victory for the now 10-6 Pacers, 4th in the Eastern Conference, trailing only the Cleveland Cavaliers, Milwaukee Bucks, and defending conference champion Boston Celtics. If the Kings lose before the Pacers lose, the Pacers will have the longest active winning streak in the NBA. They've won 8 of their last 10. They are 7-1 in November. I'm out of stuff to say. The Pacers are good. They are playing extremely well right now. They are smashing preseason expectations. This is a fun, talented basketball team that is proving everybody wrong. They're so connected. TJ McConnell was talking about all of that after the game tonight, just how much this team plays for each other. And there's no moaning, there's no whining. They just fix the problems and keep rolling. And that speaks a lot to their leadership. Guys fall in line when Tyrese Haliburton and TJ McConnell and all these guys are doing what they're saying. Pacers, when I did their preseason schedule predictions, I had them at 7-9 right now. So even me, who had more wins than most for the Pacers, I had them going over their Vegas projection with 26. I still had them 3 under where they're at. That's how much and how good they've been to start the season. That said, a lot of my losses came in their upcoming stretch. We'll talk about their schedule in a moment. in the third segment, to close out today's show. But before we do that, I want to talk about TJ McConnell and his best game of the season that he just had in this Pacer win, and Tyrese Haliburton. I'm going to connect the two, and you'll see why in this segment, because those two are sneakily doing something that is a big part of the Pacers' offensive success this season. Before we pivot and talk about that, though, I want to talk to you guys about Turo. Turo is the world's biggest and largest car sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book any car you want, wherever you want it, with a community of local hosts. Browse a huge collection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget across the US, UK, Canada, and coming soon, also Australia. Book a spacious SUV or minivan for a family road trip. You get a classic or luxury car for a special event, birthday, or holiday. Find an affordable economy car if you're on a budget just trying to get from point A to point B. Turo can help you do all that. You can test drive that new electric vehicle you've had your eye on. See if it fits your everyday life. Many Turo hosts even deliver the car right to you. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms and conditions and exclusions apply. Forget boring car rentals and drive at Turo.com. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Pacers your first listen today and every single day. For your second listen, easy peasy, Locked On Magic is the way to go. Philip Rossman-Reich breaking down that very fun Magic team despite their two losses to the Pacers in the last 3 days. This segment is going to be primarily about TJ McConnell's big game, but it's also going to be about Tyrese Haliburton and the Pacers and their point guards and why it matters that they play similarly. And I want to make that very clear that this is a McConnell segment, despite a lot of time about to be dedicated to the starting point guard. And first of all, for Tyrese Haliburton, congratulations to him on his first Player of the Week award win as a member of the Pacers. He wins for last year. Pacers go 3-0. He averaged 21 and 11. That was pretty easy. Ironically, the same time he wins, De'Aaron Fox, his former teammate, wins in the Western Conference. Haliburton averaging 20.6 and 10.5 this season. Got a lot of praise from Jamal Mosley, the Magic coach, before the game. Congrats to Haliburton for doing that. He was fantastic. Like I said, banger game, 18 points, 14 assists. And he gets his teammates involved. And that's something not new about Tyrese Haliburton. In fact, very well known. That was his good skill last year before he became more aggressive as a scorer and a more talented player. He's fantastic at getting guys involved. They know they have to keep their head up. They know he's going to get them the ball, right place, right time. But there's something new about this year's team, and that sort of relates to Tyrese Haliburton, but very much relates to TJ McConnell. And that's that they have 2 point guards who are both good passers, but play a much more similar and effective for the rest of their team style. And this is not to say that Malcolm Brogdon was not a good passer. Malcolm Brogdon was a very underrated passer, actually. I think he was very good at creating shots for his teammates when he was asked to do it, but he didn't do it that often. It laid on the hands of other players quite a bit. You know, other guys in the TJ McConnell tenure, although it was mostly Brogdon, given when he was signed and how that overlap shook out, but sometimes it was Karis LeVert as the starting point guard, for example. Whoever it was, there's some talent in front of McConnell, but they didn't quite have the same play style as him. So sometimes it made sense to put shooters like Doug McDermott with McConnell with the second unit. In fact, both Nate McMillan and Nate Bjorkgren really liked to have Doug McDermott with the second unit during his time with the Pacers. And also Justin Holiday, guys who can shoot and make it so his creation ability really matters. But obviously shooters make sense with TJ McConnell, but all of that to say, you kind of needed specific skills with him to maximize what he can do. Now, the difference now is the Pacers don't have to tweak anything because Tyrese Haliburton and TJ McConnell play the most similar style of any point guard duo the Pacers have had basically since they traded away Paul George. You can go back for a while and look through a lot of situations like this, but I was talking to some players about this today. Like, this just makes everyone's life so much easier. No matter who's running the show, no matter what the play call is, no matter who else is on the floor besides the point guard, it's all going to run smoothly. It's all going to start at the right time. The passes are going to be crisp. They're going to come in the same way, and they're going to be generated by solid rim attacks and a great, fantastic ability to read the game and react to what's happening in a way that benefits your teammates, right? That is helpful to have that mindset, that thinking, no matter who is running the show for your team. And that is something I think has been an underrated benefit of the Haliburton-McConnell point guard pairing, is that they, obviously Haliburton's substantially more talented. I don't want to compare the players at all, but stylistically, the way they both try to attack the paint, to make reads and bend the defense and get their teammates open, that similar style has, I think, helped McConnell because guys can blend in with him better because they're playing his style all the time. It makes it easier to adapt and it just all makes more sense for everybody. I was asking Isaiah Jackson about it after the game. He had a ton of praise for TJ McConnell, but he also talked about how that style can really help him, how that both of those guys playing the same way makes it easy for him to just seamlessly play all the time, right? That's really helpful for the team. So there's more overlap between styles. Not that Haliburton doesn't attack, in a different way than McConnell. Not that Malcolm Brogdon couldn't pass. I just think this now is the most synergy there's ever been at that position. And that has stood out to me during this game, watching TJ McConnell dish out 10 assists right behind Tyrese Haliburton's 14. And that's why I wanted to highlight both TJ McConnell and the way the Pacers play. Now, McConnell played with Haliburton and the starters in this game, which is perhaps the best way to show how effective he was at kind of championing that style similarity in this game. He was running the show with Haliburton and still setting up teammates to close the second quarter. That duo was a +7 in the first half. I don't know if they overlapped at all in the third and fourth quarter since Haliburton only played in the third, but there was no issues at all. He did some setting up in that unit because he can. They set up in the same way, and it helps their teammates find success. And now, TJ McConnell, beyond the style he plays and how it messaged with Haliburton being good, he also was great in a million other ways. If you listened yesterday, I did a whole segment on how every game for the Pacers, this is something they did not have last year. It seems like one role guy steps up beyond their good players being good. Now, Buddy Hield and Miles Turner weren't as good in this game, although Miles' defense was fantastic. He was still a +18. They needed some role guys to step up. They got it from Brissett and McConnell. McConnell was one of those guys in this game. He has less frequently been the super step-up type, but that's just more based on the way he plays and the way he likes to get other guys involved. And he set up everybody. 10 assists for TJ McConnell, 19 points, one of his highest scoring games in a long time. And he hit the 3 threes, like I said in the first segment. Not known as a shooter, but a lot of the questions after the game from Scott Agnes, for example, talking about how he's been working on a lot of skills, but one of those being his outside shot with assistant coach Jenny Bushek. A lot of guys are happy to see him succeeding in that way. And the threes were standoutish to me just for a million reasons. But when combined with the defense and some of the other stuff he was doing, this was McConnell's best game of the season by a mile. The defense was particularly impressive. Jalen Suggs, 5 for 13 running the point guard show for the Magic every so often. Terrence Rosted for a little bit. He was 2 for 7. They don't have a lot of guards in general. Gary Harris was playing at off-ball guard. Indy native returned. But in general, their point guard rotation very light, and TJ McConnell did a great job shutting those guys down. His defense is usually good. He also hit a lefty floater layup over the enigma that is Bol Bol, which was so impressive. And he ran back down the floor looking at his left hand, which was just hysterical to see. And then someone asked him about it after the game. I believe it was Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. And he said, yeah, don't tell my coaches about that because I didn't get back on defense as fast and we gave up a layup because of that, which the perfect TJ McConnell answer. But he was balling in this game, finding crevices for himself to score. He was hitting that little mid-range shot he loves. He hit his threes. He hit his free throws. He was stealing the ball. He was diming up his teammates. He got rebounds. He was just fantastic. And a lot of times this season when I've talked about McConnell, it's been about his leadership abilities or things of that sort. This was a great game from him. He was potentially, of the players, the story of the game, as in he stood out above his expectation more than perhaps anyone else. But yet my takeaway from watching him was that it was so seamless at times when they could just sub point guards. They could just bring in McConnell for Haliburton. All the other 4 guys are the same. They could play the exact same way, especially against the Magic and the way they're switching and allowing the Pacers to attack. And that made everybody's life easier, and it really makes TJ McConnell and Tyrese Haliburton's life easier. Great game from both of them. Again, a combined 24 assists from 2 players. That will get it done, and that is part of why Pacers were able to take down the Magic in this game and improve to 10-6. But now, everybody, things get real. The Pacers' schedule is about to get brutal, absolutely brutal. I want to tell you about why it's going to happen and what you can expect on the road ahead for the Indiana Pacers. Before we do that, though, let me talk to you guys about LinkedIn Jobs these days. Every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. It's so easy, just a few clicks, boom, your job's up there. You can add your job in the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that your company's hiring. They have simple tools like screening questions that make it easy to focus on the candidates with the right skills and experience. You can quickly prioritize who you want And it's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering high-quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Pacers your first listen today and every single day. For your second listen, check out Locked On NBA, because I was on it 2 days in a row. I hosted Sunday and Monday. A lot of hosts on vacation with Thanksgiving coming up, and I'm happily filling in, talking about the entire league. Jay Crowder, John Collins, surging teams. There's a lot. It's all over there, and I can help you break down the league at large over at Locked On NBA. But right now, we're talking about the Pacers and their schedule getting real. Hoo boy. Like I said in the first segment, when I did my preseason predictions running through the Pacers schedule, I had them at 7 wins right now, 7-9, which is acceptable. That's a good start. Their schedule is also pretty easy to start this season, and they've been one, better than expected, but two, helped slightly by injuries. Now, 7 wins in the first 16 games, what I had. I also have 7 wins between now and January 18th for the Pacers. Their schedule is about to really ramp up in difficulty, and we're going to learn a lot about the Pacers, how good they are, and how they respond to adversity in this coming time. This isn't just about seeing if they can beat some Western Conference teams. This is about something Tyrese Haliburton said early in the season. They, for one, we will learn who the Pacers are, but for them, it's about learning, right? Tyrese Haliburton said, they have to learn how to hold a lead. They have to learn how to come back and against different teams in different coverages. They have to learn how to play together on a hard road trip against tough opponents. This team is actually good, but can they continue to be better than anyone thought? We're about to find out who this team is. Can they sustain it levels of good, right? They beat the Heat, no Jimmy Butler. They beat the Nets, no Ben Simmons, who's playing good again. That actually is something I could say. The Raptors, no anybody, and the Magic, no Banchero twice. Like, every team has had this fortune. This is not just the Pacers thing, but it's needed context to say we're about to find out a lot about this team as the competition ramps up. They got a surging Minnesota Timberwolves team on Wednesday. That's the start of this tough schedule ahead. Minnesota's won 4 in a row now. Then they play the new look Nets on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. Jacques Vaughn, the new head coach. Ben Simmons playing better. Kyrie's back. KD has scored 25 or more points since the dawn of time every game, right? Those 2 games are their hardest opponent since Denver for sure, but maybe the last time they played the Nets, maybe the Pelicans. I don't know. Either way, it's been a long time, and they have 2 of those hard games to close out this week. So if they can win both of those games, yes, of course, everybody will continue to talk about the Pacers being fantastic. If they lose both, the schedule ramps up and it got tough. We'll see what happens. And then it gets even harder, right? That is the actually easy part of their upcoming schedules. 2 teams whose record does not look particularly strong at all. They go on a long road trip right after those 2 games. In LA on Sunday, in LA again on Monday, a back-to-back against both LA teams. In Sacramento next Wednesday, in Utah next Friday, in Portland the Sunday after, and then a back-to-back against Golden State, the defending champs, on a travel back-to-back, and then flying all the way out to Minnesota to close out the road trip. That's 7 games in a row against Western Conference teams, 6 of which were playoff or play-in teams last year, and the one that wasn't is the Blazers, who are way better than last year, obviously, because Damian Lillard is healthy and playing. That's an insanely hard stretch with a back-to-back mixed in. Travel the entire time, 2 back-to-backs mixed in, that is going to be a ridiculously hard stretch for the Pacers. And that's why when I was going through their schedule before the season, I don't think I gave them a win during that road trip. At Utah is the only one. But Utah is way better than everybody thought before the season started. So that is going to be a brutal stretch. And it does not get easier when they return home. Once they get home from this road trip that's going to eat them alive, they play the Wizards, who are but better than people thought. They play the Nets again. Then they play the Heat. Then they host the defending champs. Then they're back on the road in Cleveland. Then they got New York, Boston, Miami, New Orleans, Atlanta, Cleveland, the Clippers, the Raptors, and the Sixers. All in a row. I mean, it's just their next 20 to 25 games are hair on your chest levels of ridiculous. And we're going to learn a lot about the Pacers and their growth and growing up to get that hair on their chest in this stretch. Again, before the season, here are all the wins I had for the Pacers between now and January 18th when they play Oklahoma City on the road. against Brooklyn on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, in Sacramento and in Utah on the road, although both of those teams are much better than anyone thought before the season. Against the Knicks on December 18th, against the Cavs on December 29th, against the Hornets on January 8th, against the Hawks on January 13th, and then in OKC on January 18th. It's actually 8 wins. I counted wrong earlier. No, that is 7. Okay. So ridiculously hard stretch. Tons of losses could be coming their way. Now, also, very few losses could be coming their way. The Pacers could just be a fantastic team, and that's why I think you're going to learn a lot about this team during this stretch. Is their defense real and as good as it looks like it's been in recent weeks? Like, they've been a top 10 defense in the last 2 or so weeks, right? To go with their already extremely potent offense. Can they win on the road? Yeah, they beat Houston on the road. They beat Charlotte on the road. They beat the Wizards on the road. They beat the Nets on the road. Can they consistently win on the road? That will be answered for sure on a 7-game road trip. Can they come back from that and continue any momentum? Or if they lose momentum, can they get it back at home? Can they keep their mojo alive? You know, that is stuff that the really good teams can do. It doesn't matter how often they're playing, when they're playing, how they're playing, who they're playing. They can, in general, keep up their same level of style and get a win. The Pacers are right now that level of team. They're beating a lot of people at home, on the road. They won both road games they played last week, right? But they've got way tougher competition in terms of opponents coming up, and their schedule does them no favors. A 7-game road trip, I think, is the longest since I've been covering this team just in 1 week. All out west as well. It's going to be tiring for absolutely everybody with time zones and things of that nature. So a lot's about to be revealed about the Pacers, their resiliency, how good they are at learning, and can they keep the momentum alive that they had early in the season. You know, we're not there yet. We're only about halfway, but we're not that far. You know, it'll be before the end of 2022 that the time comes when the rookies have played about as many games as they played in a college season. Is the rookie wall potentially on the horizon, right? A lot of stuff is coming and will be revealed about this Pacers team. I think between now and, let's say, December 15th, that's kind of an arbitrary date, for example, but you know, they come back home from their road trip with 4 at home, and it's Wizards, Nets, Heat, Warriors. And that Warriors game is December 14th. You know, if in that stretch, right, they play those 4 plus the 7-game road trip plus the 2 at home. If in that 13-game stretch between now and December 15th, the Pacers win 5 or 6, yeah, they're probably a play-in or better level team, locked in for certain. I think some people might already be there. If they win 3 games, they'll be 500, a little below that. You know, maybe they just had a hot start. If they win 7 games, then we're talking maybe a playoff contending level team. So there's a lot that will be learned about the Pacers in basically the next 25 to 30 days because of their schedule and because of their talent level surging. Can they keep that up? And their record will inform a lot about how good they are. And I think defense will be key on this road trip. But the defense slips, but the offense is still good. I think that inconsistent results will be coming. And can Tyrese Haliburton and Benedict Mathurin keep up their strong level play to open the season as a road trip goes? I think Haliburton most likely certainly will. Mathurin, we will see. For rookies, there's a lot of question marks, but he continues to impress at absolutely every turn, and I do not have doubts about his ability to perform on the road. But either way, much will be learned about the Pacers in the upcoming month or so, given their schedule and what's ahead for this team. Tomorrow, Wednesday, the Mad Ants play Tuesday in Indy, in Gainbridge at 11 a.m. So I'll be recapping some of that game. Trevelyan Queen, Kendall Brown, all that juicy Mad Ants stuff to keep up with the 2A guys. And then Dane Moore is going to join us to talk Minnesota Timberwolves. Fun team, how they were built, how the matchups will go in Pacers Wolves on Wednesday night. You won't want to miss that. Dane is fantastic covering the league. Thursday on Thanksgiving, a recap show from Pacers Wolves and a sidebar segment, no matter what was good or bad from that game. And then Friday, probably no guest, probably only one this week, just given, again, I don't want to bug people during the holidays. Talking Nets, talking Pacers, just keeping it rolling. It's going to be a fun week for this Pacers team, as, again, their schedule about to get hard, and a lot will be learned about them. So thank you guys a ton for listening today. It is much appreciated. So much fun content coming for you on Locked On Pacers. Have a great rest of your day. We will see you tomorrow.